What will space travel look like in 2050? Space travel in the next 30 years is going to look a lot more like vacations on Earth. The projection is that there are going to be settlements and constant space flights. The companies that are venturing into space development have a clear concept of what they want. It seems like a lifetime away if you think of the year 2050, but it is very close. By the year 2050, for example, about 50% of cars produced and used will be electric. The projection is not futuristic because we have seen a high rise in car enthusiasts opting for electric cars already. With companies finding a more affordable method to create these electric cars, they might be more sustainable shortly. That is the way that we should all look at this subject. We see many nations make new strides, and feats in space travel make it easy to understand that it is possible to own a staffed house on the moon in 3 decades. It is good to have a plan that reaches its peak in 30 years. That is how you measure your efficiency and effectiveness as a people. We evolved from never leaving the Earth to visiting every sphere of our galaxy through our advanced technology. That is progress. And if 50 years ago the Apollo landed on the moon, we can be settling there in the next 30. Do you want me to go deep? Make sure to hit the subscribe button now. From NASA's predictions, there will be both small and large settlements on the moon. Space-led power production should also be fully up and running, and the space tourism industry should have taken full effect. This projection is on the back of several pieces of research and in-depth analysis of space activities. Ken Murphy coined the term cislunar iconosphere in 2012. This idea is based on the principle that as space travel becomes familiar, the moon and other bodies will be controlled by private and commercial companies rather than by the government. The government will be responsible for creating policies around the settlement and coexistence situations. Still, private entities will handle the general development of the moon and other areas, the commercial ventures like SpaceX owned by multi-billionaire Elon Musk. SpaceX built the last NASA rover that landed on Mars in February 2021. This revelation means that NASA, a government agency, is delegating the innovation and building of these space vehicles to other commercial companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, Boeing, Virgin Galactic, and many more. Since the beginning of time, only 571 people have made it into orbit. With India and China entering the game, human tourism, mineral exploration, and settlement seem feasible. Since China is now the second most funded in space travel, they may catch up with Russia and the US. The SpaceX company has also mentioned that they will send a man to Mars by 2026. The incredible advancement in reusable rockets and space modules is a significant step in the right direction of opening space up for tourism. The space tourism industry is emerging and making more strides. The first space tourist was American entrepreneur Dennis Tito, who paid $20 million to spend 8 days. He partnered with the Russians and rode in the Soyuz mission TM-32. Blue Origin is developing a capsule called the New Shepard spacecraft to get people into space. The 6-seater capsule will have a large window and get released into the atmosphere so that passengers can enjoy the effect of weightlessness. The customers will be allowed to appreciate it for a few minutes, and then they will be dropped back into the Earth's atmosphere. The rockets will be reusable and give customers the chance to experience this for as low as $200,000. There is the hope that as competitors develop more of these, the prices could fall soon. This amount might seem expensive, but NASA spends around $4 billion a year on maintaining the space station. The cost of food and air supply to last a day in space is approximately $22,500. Once Wi-Fi and power are included, the one-night stay will cost about $35,000. Made in Space is currently producing spare parts, tools, and medical supplies to put together in space. They argue that a factory in space is not far from reach. The company believes that asteroids offer metals for production, and helium found on the moon space could be used to their benefit if they pushed further and set up in space now that it is vacant and not sovereign to anyone. What we need to consider is the amount of time it takes to get into space. There need to be at least new rockets that are faster and use less energy, or we should produce more fuel while still on the go. The other thing is that Earth's takeoffs into Mars can only be achieved at specific points. There is a 2-year period until the Earth and Mars are aligned in the best way and takeoff is possible. This waiting period is why all the last rovers jetted off in July 2020. If we can eliminate that, then nothing could stop us by 2050. Moving forward, if you are enjoying this video, make sure to hit the like button now. The first challenge to come off this would be that no one has complete control of the galaxy. This reason is why there is a space treaty. The space treaty signed in 1976 set out that the moon and other bodies shall not be subject to a claim of national sovereignty. It is impossible to ignore the political and economic greed of dominant countries in the space exploration business. World leaders have always disagreed on issues of significant international concern. So, it is going to be likely that colonizing the moon and other planets and taking territories will not come without substantial conflicts. We are sure of situations where dominant nations have been instructed by international governing bodies to follow specific protocols and disregard them with no repercussions. Another challenge that might arise when commercial human spaceflight takes effect is the risk factor of the legal framework of tourism not covering space travel. There are not many legalities surrounding space travel at the moment. Therefore, it is unclear what will happen if some spaceflight companies are negligent and do not adhere to safety measures that will endanger passenger lives. Therefore, there is a call for more people to get into space law now to have representatives when it is commercialized. We may experience interplanetary living, or at least holidays in space. The competitive nature of space tourism among the private companies and a lack of government restriction could provide immense value and cost reduction. The prospect of further research, because the progress we are accounting for today is a joy to experience. If we do not hit the target in the next 3 decades as expected, at least we would have positioned ourselves to the possibility of finding out so much more about the other planets and stars than we ever imagined we would. It makes sense that with everything we have going on Earth, like global warming, ethnic cleansings, and threats of international peace, it makes sense that Musk and Bezos are investing in space travel and housing so that they can get out of here as soon as possible. Let us know what you think about the new strides made in space travel and what your predictions are for the next 3 decades. If you believe the US and Russia are still in the lead or China can overtake them. And if you think that these new private individuals' involvement in it could turn the whole industry around and put countries way below. Please tell us all your thoughts in the comments section. That will be all for today. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so you will never miss any of our future videos.